President Muhammadu Buhari, who is in London, had directed Osibanjo to take charge of the legal concerns being expressed by the stakeholders following the split judgment of the Supreme Court on the Ondo governorship election. 3 out of 7 justices of the Apex Court had punctured the legality of Bernie chairing the committee, while 4 in the lead judgment upheld the election of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu. Osibanjo had last weekend met with lawyers serving in the cabinet, where he reportedly advised against last Saturday's World Congresses of the party, but the caretaker committee went ahead with it. Aside the issue of the World Congresses, it was also gathered that there was suggestion that the 3 governors, Bernie, Gbeyoga, Oyetola, Osun, and Abubakar Sani Bello, Niger, serving in the caretaker committee should excuse themselves. An aide of the vice president told Daily Trust Saturday that his boss had not shifted his position on the committee. He took an informed position after analyzing the Supreme Court judgment on the Ondo governorship election. He has not changed that position. The vice president was very clear that we should all avoid legal trap and address the main issue raised, which is against the country's constitution and section 17 of our party's constitution, he said. Also, a minister, while speaking on the matter, said most of the lawyers in the cabinet threw their weight behind the position canvassed by Osibanjo, with the exception of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami. He said, "We have 2 main camps in the cabinet now, those of us supporting the position of the vice president and the Malami side. We are all waiting the arrival of the president next week. We are hoping that the president, as a promoter of the rule of law, would end this logjam when he arrives. Our attention was not on the legality of governors serving in the party until the Apex drew our attention to it. With this development, should we not amend our ways?" Malami had, in his legal opinion on the matter, argued in defense of the status quo, urging the party not to give in to speculative and unsubstantiated fear regarding the status of Bernie and the caretaker chairman. Daily Trust reports that the disagreement among governors who are members of the party on the matter has been resolved with a statement by their chairman and Kebbi State Governor Atiku Bangudu backing Bernie committee. Bangudu, in a statement on Thursday, argued that the judgment of the Supreme Court on the Ondo governorship had resolved all issues surrounding the caretaker committee and its composition. Governor Bernie was appointed in acting capacity on a temporary basis to carry out and fill in the seat of the national chairman of the party pending the election of a new national chairman. This has settled conclusively that the APC caretaker committee and its composition is not in conflict with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and is consistent with provisions of the Constitution of the APC, he said. Speaking on the governor's position, a presidential aide said some of the governors that were against Bernie made a U-turn when they were offered the party structures in their state. They all agreed to support Bernie irrespective of the legal issues being raised because they have been promised the party structure in their respective states. But what they don't know is that they are building the structures on nothing, he said. The Supreme Court had, in a split judgment on July 28, upheld the election of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State and dismissed the appeal of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) candidate Eyitayo Jegede for lack of any scintilla of merit. Jegede and the PDP had challenged the October 10, 2020 governorship election and pegged their main relief on the ground that Governor Akeredolu and his deputy, Orimasa Ayedatiwa, were not qualified to contest the election. They contended that the signing of the Akeredolu's nomination certificate, exhibition P21, by the APC's caretaker committee, led by the Governor Bernie of Yobe State, was invalid based on Section 183 of the Nigerian Constitution, 1999, and Article 17, 4 of the APC Constitution. Both the majority judgment of the justices and the minority judgment of 3 judges concurred that Governor Bernie had violated Section 183 of the Constitution, which holds that the governor shall not, during the period when he holds office, hold any other executive office or paid employment in any capacity whatsoever, as well as Article 17 of 4 of the APC Constitution, which holds that no officer in any organ of the party shall hold executive position in government concurrently. However, the majority judgment read by Justice Emmanuel Akomaye Agim submitted that the contention being one with grave consequences for the governor involving the determination of the constitutional issue of his action would be unfair to try in his absence. The fair trial of such issue in his absence without joining him as a party is impossible. There is no need to stress the point that he is a necessary party to the case because the issue upon which the appellants have predicated their case, namely the invalidity of the said exhibit itself, cannot be fairly, effectual, and conclusively be determined without joining him as a party to the case, Agim held. The Apex Court's main decision further held that the issue of the constitutionality of Bernie as the caretaker committee chairman of the APC is not within the jurisdiction of the State Election Tribunal where the petition was commenced, expected to hear and determine petition as to whether any person has been validly elected to the office of the governor or deputy governor. As a corollary of its finding that Article 13 3 or 5 that the APC National Executive Committee has power to create and elect and appoint any committee it may deem necessary, desirable, or expedient and assign to them such powers and functions as it may deem proper. The Apex Court further held that being a voluntary organization, the question of who should hold office in the party cannot be entertained by any court. Those are non-justiciable questions. Courts have no jurisdiction over the internal affairs of a political party, except where a statute expressly gives a court jurisdiction to deal with any internal affairs of a political party, he said. But the dissenting judgment of Justice Mary Odili, which was read by Justice Ejembi Eko, allowed the appeal and dismissed the Akeredolu and the APC cross appeal and declared Jegede and the PDP winners of the governorship election. The dissenting justices declared that the non-joinder of Governor Bernie would not occasion any substantial miscarriage of justice, adding that his principal, the APC, was already joined in the matter. Thus, in view of his constitutional immunity in Section 308, his joinder would rather occasion injustice to the appellants, Jegede and PDP. On the principle of vicarious responsibility, I find it rather bizarre, spurious, or preposterous the contention that the non-joinder of Mai Mala Bernie, the governor of Yobe State, whose immunity under Section 308 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria insulates him and prohibits his joinder in any civil proceedings during his period in office as governor, had vitiated the petition even when his appointer principal had been made a party, he said. On the majority verdict that the choice of the APC NEC were an internal affairs of the party and therefore non-justiciable, the dissenting justices declared that the appellants who were seeking to protect the Constitution from being contravened have the local standing to appear in court over the matter. It is an issue raising the violation or contravention of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. On this ground, I will not hesitate to dismiss offhand the contention that the appellants lack the local standing or reasonable course of action on which to found their petition because Section 1 of the Constitution provides, inter alia, that the Constitution is supreme and its provisions shall have binding force on all authorities and persons throughout the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ECHO said. The dissenting justices held that the APC did not cross-appeal the adverse findings of the lower court, that it appointed Governor Bernie as the national chairman of the Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Committee to perform the executive functions of the national chairman. The law is settled. That is, specific adverse finding of fact or decision not appealed remains subsisting, conclusive, and binding on the parties, including the party adversely affected by it, he said.